The fog rolled in on a Friday. At first, no one thought much of it. London had always been a city of fog, its cold chimneys and damp air conspiring to cast a permanent gray over the streets. But this was something else. Heavier. Still. The air didn't move. It pressed down, thick and yellow, swallowing the buildings, the bridges, the street lamps, and it stayed. That was December 5th, 1952. By the time the sky cleared 5 days later, the city was quiet in a new way, because over 4,000 people were dead. In the years after World War II, London had changed. It was colder, poorer, soot-streaked, and rebuilding from the Blitz. Coal was still the lifeblood of winter, burned in every home, school, and factory, choking out clouds of smoke from thousands of chimneys. But the coal that winter was especially dirty, low-grade, sulfur-rich, nutty slack, handed out by the government to stretch rationing supplies. When it burned, it didn't rise. It lingered, dark, oily, bitter. On December 4th, a cold front settled over the Thames Valley. The winds died. An atmospheric inversion pinned everything down. And when the sun rose the next day, the city was already shrouded. Then came the buses that stalled in the street, the trains that vanished into cloud, the streetlights that flickered yellow at noon. Visibility dropped to just a few feet. Entire neighborhoods disappeared in the haze. People walked with handkerchiefs over their mouths, grasping walls to find their way home. But it wasn't fog. Not really. It was smoke, poison. And it was only just beginning. Hospitals filled quickly. People came in gasping, clutching their chests. Many were elderly. Others were infants or those already weakened by illness. The smog crept into their lungs and stayed there, coating the delicate linings with soot and sulfur. Bronchitis cases spiked. Pneumonia followed. Ambulances couldn't navigate the roads, so patients arrived by foot, on carts, or not at all. Inside homes, the air was no better. Windows sealed against the cold trapped the smog indoors. Curtains yellowed, walls blackened. People lit more fires to stay warm, adding more smoke to the air. Birds fell from the sky. Cows suffocated in their stalls. School children collapsed on playgrounds. One by one, the city began to choke, and still, nothing was done. Government officials downplayed the event. The fog was inconvenient, they said, but not dangerous. No emergency was declared. No warnings were issued. There were no evacuations. Londoners, long used to poor air, were told to carry on, but the bodies told a different story. By December 9th, the fog began to lift. A slow wind returned to the city, scattering the haze and bringing back the sky. But beneath it, London was changed. More than 4,000 people had died in just 5 days. Most had suffocated, slowly, painfully, in their beds or on the street. Some collapsed while walking. Others died within arm's reach of help, but couldn't find their way through the darkness. In the weeks that followed, thousands more would succumb to complications. Some estimates put the total death toll closer to 12,000. It had been one of the worst environmental disasters in modern history, and it had been entirely man-made. The cause of the disaster was obvious: coal. Decades of burning it without restraint. Thousands of chimneys pumping unfiltered smoke into the skies. But the government resisted blame. It took years of political pressure, scientific studies, and public outrage before change began. In 1956, the UK passed the Clean Air Act. It banned the use of certain fuels in designated zones. It encouraged smokeless energy. It marked the beginning of a slow shift away from coal. But for thousands, that change came far too late. What makes the London smog disaster so haunting isn't just the scale, it's the silence. There were no explosions, no sirens, no warnings shouted in the streets, just fog thickening day by day until it turned into something that killed without sound. No one expected to die walking to work. No one thought the air in their living room could smother them. And yet it did. One of the world's greatest cities was brought to its knees not by war, but by the slow, invisible consequence of its own choices. A silent killer, born from cold hands lighting fires, and a government that waited too long to notice the smoke. Thank you for listening to Road to Ruins. Subscribe for more true stories where systems fail and people pay the price.